question. A bill seeking the creation of a TT state in the Southeast geopolitical zone was read for the first time on the floor of the House of Representatives during plenary today. The bill, sponsored by 5 members of the House, comprising Amobi Oga, Miriam Onoha, Kama Nekama, Chinwe Nabuife, and Anayo Onwegbu, seeks the proposed state to be created out of Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo states. When created, a TT state, not Ekiti, a TT, will have 11 local government areas drawn from 5 states, with the capital to be located in Lakmanta. The bill is seeking to alter 3 sections of Section 3 of the 1990 Constitution to delete the word 36 and replace it with 37 to accommodate the new state, and to insert the word ATT immediately after Enugu in the list of states contained in the 1999 Constitution as amendment. Now, we also understand that the issue of Olu State is also in the front burner. The issue of Anioma State is also in the front burner. So there is a couple of state agitation across board as far as this is concerned. This is why we're having this conversation. We've been joined on the program by a member of the House of Representatives who is part of the sponsor of that bill, Honorable Amobi Oga, joins us from Abuja studio. Honorable, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, my brother. How are you?
Well, at some point, we're going to be joined by a legal practitioner who is going to be making a case for the Anioma state. But we're having this conversation, Honorable, based just not about the TT state. We're looking at it holistically about this call for a new state creation across board. So why the need for a new state, not necessarily ATT in this instance?
Okay, you know very well that the Southeast have been marginalized in the area of state creation. Other zones have 6 states, except Southeast. And the birth of a TT state, the other way around, was called equity. But we cannot call it equity because it's an Igbo state. So we believe we must go by a name that is Igbo name. That is why we call it a TT. A TT means to balance. Equity means is justice, is equity. A TT stands for the peace and harmony of Nigeria. Because Igbo people have always believed that we are being marginalized. How can other regions, geopolitical regions, have 6 states and we are having 5? And this ATT state, why is accepted by all? Because every part of southeastern state is part of the ATT state. If you come to Abia State, we have 2 local governments that formed my own constituency. I represent Iskwato and Umunnochi Federal Constituency. Iskwato and Umunnochi is in that ATT. You come to Ebonyi State, we have Ivo local government and Ohoza local government, which Kama and Kemkama represents. You go to Anambra State, we have Orumba North, Orumba South, which Princess Chinwe represents. You come to Imo State, we have Okigwe and Onimo, represented by our sister Miriam Onoha. To Enugu State, we have our brother Anayo Onwegbu, who is representing Ojiri Vanieri and Ogu. These constituencies are these constituencies that come together. And this is also part of the agreement of 2014 confab led by our elder statesman, General Ikewachukwu. So this is an agreement by the Igbo nation that we need one more state to be able to balance, for us to believe that we are in one Nigeria.
All right,
because the only thing that have been created, yeah.
My apologies, so that for the record, so people who missed out, is the name of the state going to be a TT?
Yes, a TT state.
Is this different from Olu?
A TT state.
Is it different from Olu state?
Of course. Olu State is not even in consideration at all.
But we understand that has also passed. Hold on. We understand that has also passed first reading. Is that true?
Yes.
So why you say it's not under consideration? Because I know Ikengo Gochinyere, I've had conversation with him, yeah. I say it's from Idiato North, Idiato South. So why can't the region, because you're calling, what you're agitating for is equity. The Northwest has 7.
Yes.
Every other region has 6. Only Southwest has, Southeast rather has 5. So you're making a case for an additional state for just equity. We're going to come back to some of the substance of the conversation. So why do we have this divided argument, Etiti, Olu, and maybe any other one?
No, I don't think there is a divided argument there. You know, this is politics. People have their own views. People can do things the way they feel most times. People can be faster than their shadows sometimes. But we as Igbo nation, our fathers have agreed on something. And they agreed on this Etiti state on 2014 confab. Because that is why then it was called equity. Equity means, it's not the name of the state, equity, but what they mean by that equity is that we agreed. And is a justice state, is a state that will be for equity and justice.
All right, I'm going to come back to you on some of this issue. Let's get in another set of agitation, this time from the Anioma Nation in Delta State. We're being joined in the program by Mr. Elsita Ogana. He's a legal practitioner. Mr. Ogana, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
And so your region is like the Igbo-speaking region of Delta State, when you consider Urhobo, Shekiri, and others, and the Jos. Yours is the Igbo-speaking area. So in getting this, in agitating for this state, why are you agitating for this state on one hand? 2, is this state going to be part of the South-South or Southeast?
For the question, first and foremost, the agitation for Anioma state creation didn't start in this decade. It didn't start in the last decade either. It started in the 1950s and was led by, God bless his soul, the Ojiba of Ahaba, Chief Dennis of Sarebe. So it's not a quest that started today. And the request for the state is very popular in Anocha North and South, Oshimiri North and South, Ika North East, Ika South, Ukwani, Ndokwa East and West, and of course Oshimiri South and Oshimiri, excuse me, Oshimiri and Oshimiri. So our people are simply saying that we want a state of our own. Don't forget that we were formerly in the old Western region. Through a plebiscite, which went on to a referendum, we were democratically created, we went to Bendel State. From Bendel State, there was state creation. Anioma had always been there, but for one reason or the other, which I don't want to go into, in order not to ruffle nerves, Delta State was created with Asaba as the capital. But that quest is still alive. That quest is genuine, is germane, is relevant. And Anioma State does not need federal allocation to survive. We have the bulk of gas reserves in Anioma State. When you talk about human resources, you cannot go further than Anioma. We have professionals in Nigeria and the diaspora, and we are ready to pursue our claims legitimately. So that's one leg of your question. The second leg of your question is whether it should be in the South-South and in the Southeast. As of today, 2nd July 2024, we all know that the finances of Nigeria are not what they used to be. We would have loved for every state to have, every zone rather, there are 6 zones in Nigeria, for every zone to have 7 states each, like the Northwest. But that will be expensive. The logistics, the bureaucracy will be too expensive to run on the budget of Nigeria today. So what we are saying is, other states, in other zones, apart from Northwest that has 7, the South has already 6 states. The Southwest, the same thing. The South, the same thing. So we're now saying that the Anioma state creation, that have been part of the Igbo State Union, that have been part of the Ohanese movement, should be part of the Southeast, because that is the only state that needs to be created now.
All right.
Given our current economy is from the Southeast. That's what we're
saying. Mr. Organa, so I want you gentlemen to see the picture you're painting. So it's a bit a lot. So there's a Titi, they call for a Titi state. I know the Idiato representative has called for Olu state. And now Anioma, which has to go to the southeast, according to you. For the records, you say you have gas reserve. You don't need to depend on federal allocation. Well, gas reserve, according to our law, is still under the government, the federal government, that will now extract all of that. So you need amendment of the Constitution. So let me come back to you, Mr. Oga. One of the things that one will have to consider, possibly to begin to agitate for a state, is economic viability. Have you looked at all the variables to be able to make a case why, beyond the issue of equity, what about sustainability? I'll give you an example. From the data of 2022, the fiscal performance of all the states in Nigeria, I keep citing that because that is the document we can rely on. Most states in Nigeria are not viable. Experts are even saying 25 to almost 30 states. If they were companies, they will fold. So the question of calling for more states is a divided opinion on one hand. Let me give you an example. Bayelsa State has oil. Bayelsa State is endowed with a lot of body of water. But Bayelsa State is highly dependent on fact, to the tune, as at 2022, of over 90%. That's an oil-producing state. So having resources may not necessarily be a guarantee. So when you're making your argument, what are the variables you're looking at if they ask you, how would you sustain these states?
Okay, thank you, my brother. You see, when you are talking about viability of states, I don't know whether if you look very well, you will find out that the states are not doing what they're supposed to do or gaining what they are supposed to gain in terms of IGR. It's not because they cannot do that. It's because they have this attitude of depending on federal government. You see, there is no state that is not viable. The only thing is that when you overfeed your child, you make that child lazy. The constitution we're operating today and the system of government we're operating today, the federal government have made the states very lazy. Imagine even the third tier of our government is nowhere to be found. And this, which is part of the insecurity we are facing today. But let us not go that side. See, we are in a country that have 6 geopolitical zones. And first of all, before we talk about viability, let's talk about equity. Let's talk about justice. All the problems we are facing in this country today is one of the major reasons is when people feel that they are not part of the system. The Igbo nation have feel that they are not part of the system because of the way certain things are being done.
Mr. Oga, Honorable Oga, just a minute, if I may butt in, sir. My question is simple and direct.
Okay.
Equity is a non-debate. Equity. My question is viability. That's my question.
Mm-hmm. That is what I'm telling you. There is no state that is not viable. If you want every state to function without the federal government allocation, you will make the state to work by moving some of the things to regions or states to do certain things. Like I said earlier, they may not be viable, some of those states you are calling, because of the structure of the system, depending on federal allocation. When you move certain things to states to be able to handle by themselves, there is no reason they will not generate and sustain themselves.
All right, let me go to
viability.
My apologies,
Mr. It's not the question here now.
My apologies. So that we can take everybody's opinion. Let me go to Mr. Organa on this one. Mr. Ghana, I don't know whether this sounds to you like an indirect call for restructuring. I don't know why it sounds to you, but some states can't pay minimum wage as we speak. Some governors have even said the 60,000 or 62,000 the government is proposing, the federal government can't work. Let me give you a picture of our macroeconomic situation. So when this government came in, they inherited a couple of things. Subsidies for fuel, they had to remove. The reason is maybe our bill was almost 5 trillion. They were subsidizing electricity about 2 trillion. Subsidizing FX about another 3 trillion. Some debt service, another 7 trillion. When you look at all the wage bill, about 7 trillion. That's beside recurrent expenditure. Now we have over 100 trillion naira in terms of our debt burden. And our debt to GDP ratio has crossed 50%. We're choking as a country. Do we need additional burden? If you were presented with what I just did now, how do you make a case for a new state?
It's easy. The agitation in Igbo land, when I say Igbo land, I mean the entire Southeast, I mean Rivers, I mean Delta. That's where you have Igbos. The agitation there is because government has not done yet what it ought to do. If we remember, after the Civil War, General Gowon came up with the mantra of reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. But can you say that that has really been done in Igbo land? Every zone in Nigeria has 6 or 7 states. How come it is only the Southeast, the zones dominated predominantly by Igbos, that is still 5 states? That is the question. That's one. 2, we all know the headquarters of entrepreneurship in Nigeria. Igbo land, the Igbo blood in Anioma people will ensure that we don't even need government allocation to survive. Take a drive round from Asaba down. What do you see to the left and to the right? Go to Neri, you see industries. You see self-help. You see the Igbo man's quest to actualize himself. You see the Igbo man's quest not to be a beggar. We have the same blood in Anioma land. If you rewind back to the history of the first military coup in Nigeria, led by Nzogo and Ifajona, both of Okpanam and of Onitsha, Igbo land, exactly. Why is it that some parts of Nigeria have still chosen not to forgive us? Despite the fact that the war has been fought and has been won. You can see the contributions of Igbo. Is it banking? Is it law? Is it entrepreneurship? It's there. So we are not fighting anybody. We are merely pleading that you should treat Anioma the way we have treated other parts of Nigeria. Give us our state, to speak my language. I state in Yoku. I don't know. I up here. Let me interpret that. We are not fighting. We are not issuing threats. We are only appealing. We are embedded the saying, treat Anioma, treat Igbos like you have treated other nationalities from other parts of Nigeria and from other zones. No more siphoning.
All right, Mr. Honorable Oga, let me come to you. So, if I may ask you, what have you, this agitation now, collectively, what have you been denied as a collective, besides the issue of equity, that you think that when this state is created, it will help you actualize that thing that you've been denied? I mean, for those who are agitating for states.
Thank you. I think this is the best question you have asked me for today.
I've asked you good, I've been asking you good questions.
Yeah, but this is the best for me.
Okay, no
problem. It's the best because you're asking a question of justice and equity. Igbos have been denied so many things. See, you see, life is all about, if you have 2 kids and you begin to treat the other one better than the other, naturally, the other child will start feeling somehow. Igbos are feeling as if they are not part of this country. See, not because we are talking about creating of a new state. My brother from the other side is talking about Anioma. See, it can not only be when there is time to talk about this kind of thing, they will agree they are Igbo people. What we are talking about as of today is geopolitical zone. There is nothing like Anioma. Anioma is in the south as of today. We are talking about southeast. Now, if we are talking about southeast, any state you're talking about should come from the southeast. It's no issue of talking about Neoma. If we are talking about, oh, Igbos are going on their own, because there are Igbos in rivers. Part of Equator is Igbos. So if Igbos are in Sabah, in Delta State, no, there's not issue. But what we are talking about is issue of region. Now, for now, the Asaba and Anioma is in South-South. So let them shift a little. Let us talk about Southeast, the zone that we are talking about. Let us balance the Southeast. Let us feel. We cannot be talking about viability. You are taking what is from our own side to go and take care of the other people. And you're talking about viability. Give us what is due for us. When we get it, then we talk about viability. For now, we are not talking about viability. We are talking about equality. Equalize the zones. Let them be equal. Let us feel that, yes, we are part of Nigeria. That what other people are getting, that we can get it. Because even, look at, you are talking about Bayelsa. How about Ekiti? If you look at the confab resolution, out of this 11 local government we are talking about, we are going to get almost 18 to 20 local government in that new Ekiti state. So let nobody come and distract us in the name of we are Igbos in Delta State, we are Igbos in River State. It's not what we are talking about. Give the Southeast what is due for them. Balance Southeast at least 666. So we are not even talking about 7. So when we now talk about 7 to get to other people, then we cannot call our brothers who are in Anioma if they are ready. Because during presidential elections, they will not be South-South. During after election, they will not be Igbos. Let us be sincere in this country.
All right, Mr. Oga. Mr. Oga, just my apologies. Let me go to Mr. Ogana. Mr. Ogana, it appears your brother is denying you. Maybe you have to respond.
Can you let me respond to it, please?
Yes, that's what I want you to do. Respond.
The Igbo nation is now at a crossroad. The Ohanese agenda is being questioned. I'll tell you why and how. If Ohanese consists of Anambra, Abia, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo, Rivers, and Delta, those are the 7 states that attend the Ohanese meeting. I should know because I was one spokesman of Ohanese, Ndibo, Me, the President General then was Mr. Gary Gariwe of Ebonyi State. The regime that handed over to him is that of late Ralph Witre from Ogwashuku. God bless his soul. Oguluzema Ogwashuku. He was president of Ohanese. They handed over to the regime of Igariwe, where I served as spokesman of the Igbo nation. The record is there. Is it now because benefits are coming that I'm no more Igbo, that Ogwashuku is no more Igbo, Asaba is no more Igbo, on the Chubo where I come from is no more Igbo, Agbo is no more Igbo? Look, at the last elections, the vice presidential candidate of PDP, Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Chukwu, Otto Okowa, admitted that he is an Igbo man. His Obi of Owa admitted that he's an Igbo man. The late Asaba that died, Asaba of Asaba, Dr. Chike Dozie, God bless his soul, hosted meetings of Ohanese. Obi of Owa, Obi and Ijubo, these were not there, they are alive. All went. We were at that same car, have a caucus meeting at Asaba, cross over to Nigeria and go have a meeting. So we in Anioma as Igbo as the come. Igbo land recognized for market days. Unko, Eke,
okay.
Olie, in Anioma land, it's the same thing.
All right, Mr. Ghana, I must button now. I understand. My apologies. We're totally out of time. So let me just take the Honorable's take just this particular last question. So, Honorable, apparently it looks like the issue of additional state is a major concern for the Southeast region. The Southeast region has also been trying to produce a president for a while, since its administration. I think the highest have gotten is the Senate president in 1999 that had like a plethora of them, about 4 of them, leading the Senate in that particular order. So the question for me is, if this is actualized, will it reduce or will it eradicate the call for Biafra?
My brother, let me tell you the simple and the best truth of the day. If Nigerian government gives us one state to balance with other region and releasing Nnamdi Kanu for Igbo people, my brother, nobody will talk about Biafra. See, like I explained to you before, these things are when you have like 2 or 3 kids and one is feeling that is not taken care of like the other, naturally, that child will not feel happy. What the burning fire in our hearts is that we are feeling that we are not recognized like others. Right. This is a region that think about Nigeria. There is no part of this country that you go that you don't see Igbo man driving the economy, trying to make sure that Nigeria works as a nation. But whenever it comes to sharing, now question like viability will come. Even the viability you're talking about, go to any state that is doing well. It's Igbo nations, Igbo people that are making those states viable.
That will generate. We understand the industry of the Igbo people, but you also understand other people work hard as well, because I can understand where you're coming from, but we're totally out of time.
They can't compare like Igbo people. They can't compare like us.
That argument, I'm not going to join in, but I'm just saying everybody works as a collective to build the country.
Igbos, you see, if you want to know that Igbos can make things happen, turn this government to regional government and see what Southeast region
I must butt in at this point. Honorable Amobi Oga, member of the House of Representatives, as well as Mr. Osita Ogana, a legal practitioner, joined us on the agitation for both, on one hand, Anioma, a TT state, and there's Olu on the other hand. But I wish you gentlemen and the entire region and the agitators the very best. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. I wish you gave me more time to press the Anioma agenda.
Thank you, my brother.